Today we're going to go ahead and grade and review the Chapter 10 quiz. So be ready with something other than you originally took your quiz with and be ready to count the number of points. The reason we do this is you see how I'm going to grade the final test and we go over any questions. Now, by the time we're done, what you have in front of you should be an answer sheet. I should be able to look and see the correct work and the correct answer for all of these, as well as how many points each of these is worth. So let's go ahead and jump on in. So our first problem here is kind of setting us up for fraction busting. Once again, as long as you get the answer, you don't have to do the same technique that I'm using. But this is one technique. And if you didn't get it correct, then I recommend that you do go through and solve it the same way that I am, because it's how we learned it during this chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and put parentheses around every single term on both sides. And I'm looking for a common denominator between 5, 4, and here we have an invisible 1. So I know my common denominator is going to be 20. So we're going to put a 20 in the numerator for each item on both sides. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to see how many times the denominator goes into the numerator. So 5 goes into 20 4 times. So we're going to cross both of them out and replace my 20 with a 4. 4 goes into 20 5 times, so I'm going to cross both of them out and put 5. Now, there's no denominator here to cross out, so it's going to stay at 20. So now we're going to multiply because we have that set of parentheses. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times x is positive 5x. Then our equal sign, and 20 times negative 2 is negative 40. We're now going to subtract 8 from both sides. And we have 5x is equal to negative 48. Divide both sides by 5. And our answer, x is equal to negative 48 fifths. Now, we have to either have that as a reduced fraction or a decimal. So we're going to go ahead and 48 divided by 5 is 9.6, negative 9.6. Or if you wanted to turn that into a fraction, that would be negative 9 3/5, because 5 goes into 48 9 times with 3 remainder. So problem number 1 is going to be worth 2 points, 1 for the work and 1 for that correct answer. Okay, our next one, we're going to go ahead and find the roots. I'm going to go ahead and use the generic rectangle diamond problem. I'm going to go ahead and start by using the technique we learned this chapter of doubling everything on both sides, and that's to get rid of that negative 2.5. If I wanted to leave my c as negative 2.5, I totally could, but I would have to use the quadratic formula. So I'm going to multiply every single term on both sides by 2. 2 times 2x squared is 4x squared. 2 times 4x is positive 8x. And 2 times negative 2.5 is negative 5. And 2 times 0 is 0. Okay, now we're going to go ahead. You're going to get 1 point for rewriting that. If you use the quadratic, you're going to give yourself that point at the end. Now we're going to go ahead and our a is 4, our b is 8, and our c is negative 5. A times c, negative 20 goes up top, and b bottom, 8 goes on the bottom. And I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 20 and add to positive 8. And that, of course, is going to be 10 times 2, and that's going to be a negative 2. 10 minus 2 is 8. 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. And now we're going to go ahead and fill out our generic rectangle. Our 4x squared goes on the bottom left. Our negative 5 goes in the upper right. And we have 10x and negative 2x, which make up that middle term of 8x. We're now going to factor 2x this way, 2x this way. To turn my 2x into a negative 2x, that's minus 1, and 2x times 5. Now product form, 2x minus 1 times 2x plus 5. So far, 1 point for your rewritten, 2nd point for your diamond problem, 3rd point for your generic rectangle, 4th point for product form. And the last 2 points are going to be for our final roots, where we're setting them equal to 0. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. 2x is equal to 1. X is equal to 1/2, or 0.5. And then here, we're going to subtract 5. 2x is equal to negative 5. Divide both sides by 2. and x is equal to negative 2.5. So 0.5 and negative 2.5, or 1/2, and you can leave that as negative 5/2 or negative 2.5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points for problem number 2. Okay, now we're going to go ahead with number 3 here, and there's a lot of techniques that we can use, but I'm going to do undoing. So I'm going to undo the square root by squaring both sides. These two go away, so I'm left with x minus 3 is equal to 25. I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and so my answer x is going to be equal to 28. And once again, you could have used one of those other techniques as long as you got to that correct answer. So 1 point for any work and 1 point for the correct answer, so number 3 is out of 2. Okay, number 4 here, your first step is to make those bases the same. So I look at the smaller one, 3, and I know that I can rewrite 9 as 3 squared. So 3 squared, and I put my whatever was there already in parentheses, is equal to 3 to the 20th power. When the roots are the same, they go away, and we have left 2x is equal to 20. Divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to 10. So 1 point for the work and 1 point for the correct answer. So this first page is out of 6, 8, 10, 12. So go ahead and tally up the first page out of 12 possible points. Okay, let's go ahead and flip over to page number 2. Okay, so we're starting the same way. This one, however, our bases are already the same, so they're going to go away. And we have x plus 3 is equal to 2x. We're going to subtract x from both sides, and 3 is equal to x. So 1 point for the work and 1 point for the correct answer of 3. Okay, so for this next one, we're going to go ahead and fraction bust. We have a common denominator, so we're going to go ahead and multiply everything on both sides by x. Okay, x over x cancels, so we have x plus 3. X times 2 is positive 2x, is equal to, the x's cancel, x plus 5. Okay, so 1 point for being able to get rid of those fractions. Now we're going to combine like terms, and we have 3x plus 3 is equal to x plus 5. Subtract x from both sides. 2x plus 3 is equal to 5. Subtract 3 from both sides. 2x is equal to 2. And finally, divide both sides by 2, and our answer x is equal to 1. Okay, so 3 points, 1 to clear the fraction, 1 for your work, and 1 for your final answer. So out of 3. Okay, and this one I said out of 2, but I wrote 3, so that one is really out of 2. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and find the discriminant and determine the number of solutions. Remember, your discriminant is simply what's underneath the square root of the quadratic formula. So b squared minus 4ac. So my a is 1, my b is 6, and my c is 9. So my work for my discriminant is 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. 6 squared is 36 minus 36. So my discriminant is 0. And 0 tells me that there is one solution. That means my parabola is going to cross or touch the x-axis once. So for problem A here, we have 1 for the work for the discriminant, 1 for the discriminant number itself, and a third for the solution. So problem A here is out of 3. Okay, our next one here, our A is 9, our C is 4, our B is 4, and our C is negative 6. So B squared is 4 squared minus 4 times 9 times C, which is negative 6. 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36 times 6 more. I'm using my calculator. So 36 times 6 is plus 216. And so that gives me a discriminant of 232, which tells me that there are two solutions. My parabola is going to cross the axis twice. So we have, once again, 1 point for your work b squared minus 4ac, a second point for getting the exact discriminant correct, and 1 point for correctly telling me that there was 2 solutions. So altogether on this page, there are 12. Go ahead and tally up how many you have on that page. Okay, number 8 here is absolute value problems. First, we isolate what's on this side. Then we're going to go ahead and split it into 2. We have 2x minus 5 is equal to 9, and 2x minus 5 is equal to negative 9. So that first point is for splitting it up, and then we're going to solve. I'm going to swap them over here. So we have 2x is equal to 14, and 2x is equal to negative 4. Divide both sides by 2. And we have x is equal to 7, and x is equal to negative 2. Okay, so 1 point for splitting them up, 1 point for the work, and 1 point for each correct solution. So number 8 is out of 4. Okay, our next one here, we're going to start by adding 4 to both sides because we have to get our absolute value equations by themselves. So we have 6 times the absolute value of x minus 8 is equal to 18. Now we're going to divide both sides by 6. And we get the absolute value of x minus 8 is equal to 3. So you get 1 point for getting this isolated first. So that's your first point. We're now going to split it into 2. That's your second point. X minus 8 is equal to 3, and x minus 8 is equal to negative 3. We're going to add 8 to both sides, and we get x is equal to 11, and x is equal to 5. Okay, so point 1 for getting it to here, second point for splitting it up, third and fourth point for getting those correct work, and a fifth for any work at all. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and see where these two intersect. So we're going to go ahead and set that up as y is equal to y. Our first y is negative 2x plus 2. Our second y is x minus 10. So we're going to go ahead and solve. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And once again, you could be using a little different technique as long as you're getting those right answers. So 2 is equal to 3x minus 10. We're going to add 10 to both sides. And 12 is equal to 3x. Divide both sides by 3. And x is equal to 4. That's half of our work. Remember, it's an ordered pair. I'm now going to go ahead and plug in for x and solve for y. So y is equal to 4 minus 10. So y is equal to negative 6. Okay, so our answer, these two lines are going to intersect at 4, negative 6. So 1 point for the work, 1 point for the correct x, 1 point for the work for solving for y, and 1 point for the correct y. So this one is out of 4 points. Okay, these last two are a throwback from last chapter. So we're going to go ahead and solve and graph. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides, and we get negative 3x is less than 9. We're going to divide both sides by negative 3. And when we divide by a negative, we flip our sign. So x is greater than negative 3. So 1 point for your work, 1 point for flipping the sign, and 1 for getting that negative 3. So we're going to put our numbers in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5. And your next point is to have an open circle at negative 3. And 1 point for having shaded to the right because we're greater than. So 1 point for your work, 1 point for flipping the sign, that's 2. Third point for getting negative 3. Fourth point for open circle. Fifth point for going to the right. So that one is out of 5. Okay, and this last one is an absolute value. So once again, we're going to split it into 2. So we have 2x minus 7 is greater than or equal to 11. And 2x minus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 11. So we're going to add 7 to both sides. And we have 2x is greater than or equal to 18. And 2x is greater than or equal to negative 4. And we're going to divide both sides by 2. And we have x is greater than or equal to 9. And x is greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay, so they're both going to be closed circles, and we're going to have it at 9. Actually, when we do that second one, oops, sorry guys, we flip that second one when we go to a negative. So we have x is less than or equal to negative 2. So we're going to have, once again, we're going to have to count by 2's in this case, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and negative 2, 4, 6, 8, negative 10. So we are going to have a closed circle at 9 greater than going to the right, and we are going to have a closed circle at negative 2 going to the left. Okay, so 1 point for splitting it up, a second point for flipping the sign on the other one, a third point for the work, a fourth point for your 9, a fifth point for your negative 2, a sixth point for each closed circle, and a seventh, and then 1 for each direction. So this one is out of 9 points. A lot going on there, but a lot of them are easy points. So we have for you 9, 18, and 9 more, 27 on the back. And so we have our 27 and our 12 and our 12. And that is going to be a test out of 51 points in total. So once again, if you are struggling with one of them and you want to go over how to solve those, you can rewind the video, you can look at them. Go ahead now and put your number that you got correct in the chat, and we're going to go ahead and work on our Chapter 10 review.